You don't have to choose between peak performance and strength. I'm training for the HYROX race right now. I'm chasing after a 495-pound squat, and I'm also working 10-hour days. And so this video is gonna walk you through how I plan to do each of those things while also showing you what my lifting's looking like, what my nutrition's gonna look like, what my recovery is gonna look like, and what my training's gonna look like, my whole training schedule, my whole training plan. So maybe before we get into my training split, you're probably wondering what even is the HYROX race. And so it's just a global fitness race, which is designed to test like your full body endurance and your strength. Imagine you go to an indoor track, right? And in the track, you have like a huge lap around, and there's different stations as well. So I'll try to put up some visuals as well so you guys can kind of get an idea of what exactly I'm talking about. And the different stations are all functional workouts. So some of the stations are burpees, some of them are sled push, some of them are sled pulls, some of them are throwing a wall and squatting and throwing it up. The other one is like a farmer's walk or farmer's carry. And in between each station, you have to run 1 kilometer. So this past March, I was in Houston and I actually ran a HYROX race. And I kind of just showed up for the race and I tried to wing it. I got through it, but I also got wrecked during the race just because, you know, my legs were completely exhausted. My recovery, even after the race, I remember it took me about 4 or 5 days to recover properly, to feel like my old self again. It was that draining for me. And I realized that, yeah, I could lift heavy weights, but I couldn't actually put my fitness to use. And so that's what kind of got me interested in the whole thing, where it's like, I'm really not that, like, it's cool having muscles and everything, but what's the point of having muscles if I can't even run like 8 kilometers? What's the point of having muscles if, like, you know, I could barely do these functional activities and like do a little bit of cardio in between? And I kind of took that a little bit personally. So I told myself that, okay, you know what, let me actually try to train for this properly and see how much I can improve my time, because I felt like, I don't know, I feel like my time that I had wasn't that great. Leave in the comments what you think my time was, but I felt like my time wasn't that great. And I think that if I actually train properly and put my mind to it, I'd love to see how much I can compete, because obviously I'm a competitive guy. I want to see how much I can do and, you know, how much damage I can do. So now my mission is to build my conditioning to be able to dominate the HYROX race. So I'm doing the HYROX race in October in Toronto. So that's the next one I'm going to be training for. October is the 10th month. This is June, which is the 6th month. So it's about June, July, August, September. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 months away. And I'm also training for a 495-pound squat. I'm trying to do both of these while still working 10-hour days, just to prove that it is possible to do all of this for real professionals, even with a high demanding job. So I'm going to run you through my weekly training split, my nutrition, what my hydration is going to look like, what my recovery protocols are going to look like, and all that good stuff. So first things first, we're going to get into the training split. So Monday, we're going to go with the standard PCT chest, bicep, shoulders workout. This is going to be a standard hypertrophy focused upper body session. So there's going to be an emphasis on obviously the intensity of the workout, the pump, and muscular control. And each of these sessions are going to be capped at 60 minutes. So supersets are going to be done whenever possible. And I'll just be focusing on intensity over volume. So every lift is obviously going to have a job. It's either going to help me build power or it's going to help me prevent injury during the other training that I'll be doing. All right, so next day is going to be Tuesday. So this is going to be a zone 2 conditioning day, and this is going to be rowing plus running intervals. So to warm up, obviously we're going to go in with a 5-minute dynamic mobility and a light row. And then there's going to be 2 different training blocks within this specific workout. So you're going to have block A, which is going to be like the rowing intervals. So each set is going to last about 8 minutes, and I'm going to be doing this at a zone 2 heart rate. And my rate of perceived effort is this RPE number you see is 6 out of 10. So I should find that I'm putting in a 6 out of 10 effort to do this. And I'm making sure that I'm resting 90 seconds between each set. And focuses on going to be nasal breathing, so breathing through my nose, like, and then also having a consistent stroke rate of doing around 22 to 26. So I'm going to test it out and see how it is and if I'm getting better over time or not. Because it's all about testing. It's not about getting it right on the first try, but it's about testing and refining to make sure that you're moving in the right direction over time. So block B is going to be my running intervals. So this is either going to be outdoor or on the treadmill, depending on if the weather's nice or depending on how I'm feeling. So these are going to be split up into 4 times 1 kilometer runs or sprints. And these are going to be going at a 4-minute kilometer pace. So this is pretty much like a sprint, and I'm going to be using this for my speed development. And eventually I'm going to try to get down to about 3:30 per kilometer over the next 8 to 12 weeks. And so then in between each set, when I'm on a treadmill or if I'm outside, I'll be walking for about a minute and a half to 2 minutes. And then I'll kind of get back into it. So these are going to be like intervals. It's going to be pretty intense. This is probably going to be the most challenging part of the workout. I'm going to be using this app called donâ. So one of my clients used this and he had really good things to say about it. So since I'm really dialing into the running now, I want to make sure that I'm progressing week to week. donâ is an AI-powered running assistant, which looks at your heart rate and it looks at your how fast you ran, each kilometer, and your consistency and everything. And it actually will tailor different things to you in terms of like your running speed, your running pace. So while you're actually running, it'll tell you like, hey, like you gotta kick it up a little bit, or you need to slow down. So it'll kind of give you that kind of in-ear feedback, which is really, really cool. And then I also have a heart rate strap, which I'll be using for precise zone work. So when I want to make sure that I am running specifically in zone 2 or zone 4 or zone 3 or whatever it is, I'll have a heart rate as well, which can help me monitor my heart rate. And so next up is going to be Wednesday. So this is going to be the money day. This is going to be a huge day for me because I'm making sure that this is the day where I will be going all in when it comes to training for my legs. And this is how I'm going to be progressing to get a 495-pound squat over the next few months. And so my lower body day is going to be my second training day of the week, second like lifting day of the week. And this is going to be obviously a squat focused workout. So each of these sessions are going to be capped at about 60 minutes, like I said, super sense whenever possible. And my goal is to progressively build to a 495-pound squat while keeping my knees intact. That's important for me. I want to make sure I have some knees at the end of this. And so my main lifts are going to be squats, and then I have accessory work. So my squats are going to be controlled eccentrics and explosive concentrics. So controlled eccentrics just means that as I'm going down, when I got the bar on my weight, as I'm going down, I'm slow and controlled. But then when I get to the bottom, I explode back up. So that's going to be the explosive concentric. And so I'm going to be focusing on bracing and then tracking my knees as well. So making sure that my knees don't move, they stay fixed, and that they're well aligned as I do the whole squatting movement. When it comes to accessory work, this is going to be the exact program that I'll be following to kind of have accessory work that's going to complement my squats. So the first thing we're going to have is Bulgarian split squats. So I'm going to be doing 3 times 8 per leg. So I'm obviously going to make sure I'm picking a weight which is heavy enough for me to not get fatigued too quickly. And then I'm going to be doing RDLs. So 3 sets, 10 reps. Again, you don't need a whole lot of sets and movements if you're doing these exercises correctly, and obviously lifting to failure and lifting with full intensity. And then to finish it all off, I'm going to be doing some heavy walking lunges. So 3 times 20 steps with each leg. And then in a perfect world, I'd be having a sled push that I'd be doing, but my current gym right now that I'm training at, it doesn't have a sled push. So in order to substitute this, I'll be using an incline treadmill walk. So this is just going to be 15 minutes at a 15% incline at the speed of like 3 to 3.5. So I'm obviously going to increase this over time as I get better and better and better. But for now, that's kind of how it started off. And then Thursday, as you can see, is going to be my mobility and active recovery day. So this is just going to be a 15-minute incline treadmill walk at zone 1, and then a massage gun work on my calves, hips, and quads. So I have a massage gun as well. I'm going to be using that on my legs specifically, and obviously upper body, wherever sore. And then I'm going to make sure I'm going to do some mobility work as well, some stretching, mobility on my hips, my hamstrings, my spine. And then foam rolling, of course. I want to make sure that I'm kind of relieving as much tension as I possibly can. And then obviously deep nasal breath work. So this is just going to be, taking deep breaths, box breathing, doing things like that. And then I'm going to get back to the sauna and the cold plunge contrast. So obviously you have the sauna, you got the cold plunge. One raises your body temperature, the other one lowers it. So switching back and forth between the two. I'm going to be doing this about 3 times, kind of like help maximize my recovery. Next up, we have Friday, which is going to be a back, triceps, and a HYROX skill work kind of day. So we're going to have the lifting portion and we'll have the HYROX portion. So for the lifting portion, this is going to be something called a Seal Smith machine row. We're going to do 3 by 10 weighted pull-ups, 3 times 5 to 8, and then we're going to do 2 times as many reps as possible as well after that. And then we're going to go into some overhead tricep extensions or dips, depending on how I'm feeling. And I'll kind of like switch these day and week to week. So I'm going for 3 to 12. And then to kind of end off that strength portion, we're doing farmer holds. So this is going to be one of the main exercises that they do in the HYROX as well. So I'll be kind of simulating this a little bit with dumbbells. In the HYROX, they use kettlebells. I'll be using dumbbells. So these are going to be 3 times 30-second holds on each hand. And I'm going to be using about 50 to 60 pounds. I believe in the actual HYROX, you're using a 24 kg dumbbell, which is about 52 pounds when I did the calculation. So I want to make sure I'm obviously training harder than what the actual test is going to be. And then in terms of for my HYROX training on Friday, I'm going to do wall balls. So you pretty much like take a ball, you squat, you throw it up to the sky. I'm going to be using a 20-pound medicine ball. I'm going to be doing burpees and broad jumps. I wrote broad jumps or burpee broad jumps. It's like the same thing. So 8 jumps, 4 sets of those. And then I'll be doing a finisher with like the rower thing. So this is just going to be 3 times 250 meters achieved on the rower at 90% effort. And I'll be going for a 90-second rest. So it's going to be an all-out sprint. It should be pretty fun. Really looking forward to all of this. And then next up is going to be Saturday, which is going to be another conditioning day. So again, more massage, going to work on my calves, my hips, my quads, 20-minute mobility, and then a little incline treadmill walk. So here I'll be able to get my steps, get some calories burned, and I'll be going at a 12% incline, 3 to 3.5 miles per hour. And my whole goal, maintain a zone 2 heart rate range. And obviously I'm going to be doing sauna, cold plunge therapy, like I said. And this is going to be, I guess, like the real test. So some of my good friends here in Toronto, Jordan, Caesar, they have this whole boot camp going on. So they're actually running the HYROX race in Tokyo, Japan. And so before they actually run, what they've done is they've created like a boot camp where you can kind of like test your HYROX skills each and every Sunday. It's called Flow State. It's here in Toronto. And so I'll be attending those every Sunday. And this is just going to be a full body circuit, which kind of mimics the HYROX format. So there's going to be running intervals, there's going to be functional stations as well. And just the whole goal is just to simulate my race pace under fatigue, and obviously to track my heart rate data to evaluate, what zones I'm in. And over time, as I do and compete at each of these Sunday boot camps, is to be getting my heart rate lower and lower and lower, meaning that it's requiring me to do less effort as I progress, and I'll be seeing more week-to-week improvements that way. So that's obviously like the goal that I have, and it's going to be a lot of work, but it's something that I'm definitely like excited for. It's a great challenge. And now that you know what my training is going to look like, we'll dive right into nutrition. For nutrition, I want to have a really repeatable system. So ideally, I'm going to be eating the same meals every single day, just for simplicity purpose and to kind of reduce the decision fatigue that I need to use on a day-to-day basis in order to think of, oh, what am I going to eat, or how much of this or how much of that am I going to put in. Like, I just want to really reduce that decision fatigue. And obviously I'm going to have a couple non-negotiables, like my protein, for example. Obviously, if you've been following me for a little bit, I use the PCT method, and protein is going to be a non-negotiable for me, tracking my protein each and every single day. In terms of my carbs are going to be mainly around cardio and lifting sessions. So for those of you that don't know, carbs are a really great energy source, specifically complex carbs, because that gives you lasting energy that you can use to fuel your workouts. And then when you actually do finish a workout, or you do finish a weight training session, when you have carbs in you, what the carbs actually do is it helps replenish your body with glycogen, which your muscles, food for your muscles. And so that's going to be really big for me. And then next up is going to be fats. So I want to make sure I'm tapering down my fats around when I do train, because it kind of slows down my digestion. And I won't really be needing to do a whole lot of tracking because of the repetition and structure that I'm going to be implementing. Because I'm going to be eating relatively the same meals each and every single day, and there's not much deviation, I don't need to track the same stuff each and every single day. That's just like extra work for no reason. And we're not about doing what we don't need to do here. And so when it comes to the actual days where I will be training like HYROX specific workouts, I'm going to be having like a pre-workout specifically, and that will be maybe something like a banana with a little bit of honey and maybe a rice cake, or just some liquid carbs. For the most part, depending on like my energy levels, like if I am finding myself like pretty tired, I'll probably just be having on resorting to liquid carbs. But if I do kind of like have the extra pep in my step and I want to get out there and be like, okay, you know what, like I'm gonna make a nice fancy pre-workout. I'm gonna have a rice cake, put a little bit of honey on that, put some bananas, and we're good to go. And then for the post-workout, I want to make sure I'm having some simple carbs to kind of get that glycogen replenish, and I want to make sure I'm having some protein. So that's either going to be like a protein shake, or I'll have my meal, like a big meal, after. And so I think the other thing I want to talk about is the supplements, because supplements are going to be huge for this as well. So what I'll do right now is I'll kind of like walk over to my supplements and kind of show you guys what we'll be working with. So, all right. So first up, we got creatine. This is going to be extremely important for helping increase my muscle size, strength. Helps with recovery a lot as well. That's what creatine does. This is going to be a very important one as well. So this is collagen. What collagen does is it helps support collagen helps support your joint health, and that's going to be super important for obviously, like my HYROX training, because it will be super. Let me flip the camera. The training will be super intensive, and I want to make sure that my joints are healthy, and I'm not going into each training session with like weak knees, or I'm not going into each training session with, like aching joints, because nobody likes that. Next up, boom, carb ion. So this is liquid carbs. So for those of you that don't know, carbs and what they do is it helps provide you with energy during your workouts. And so having a powder, which is carbs, which is that one I just showed you, what it does essentially is you drink it as you work out. So it supplies your body with carbs. So as your body uses up carbs, you drink and you get some carbs back. And then that helps sustain and keep your energy going the whole time. So that's what the liquid carbs do. That's going to be obviously extremely important for my training, just because it's going to help me with keeping my energy levels high during the whole workouts that I do. This is going to be another one. This is honestly a magic recovery supplement. It's called glutamine. It helps with increasing your recovery, and it also helps support your like muscle growth, all that good stuff. So that's glutamine. So I'm going to be having a lot of that. This is kind of getting into a hefty stack actually. Next one is going to be citrulline malate. So essentially all this does is it helps improve my aerobic capacity. So it helps improve, let me just read this real quick. Support aerobic energy production. So I want to make sure I'm missing anything. And yeah, it just helps improve my aerobic capacity. So that little extra push to kind of give you a little bit of an extra boost when you are doing more cardio focused and cardio intense workouts. That's what the citrulline malate does. So to make sure I take it on the HYROX days where I'm doing a lot of cardio-based activity and cardio-based work. So those are the main supplements I'm taking. I do have another one, which I can't find, but the last one I'm taking is called beta-alanine. You find this on a lot of pre-workouts. It has a similar effect as the citrulline malate. So all that really does is just help you. It just helps you kind of last a little bit longer when you are in the gym and are doing like those cardio intensive activities. So those are going to be like my supplement stacks, my go-to supplements that I'll be taking for the HYROX race. Not the race, but like for my HYROX training. So that's going to be the first thing. And the next thing what we'll get into while we're still on the topic of nutrition is my hydration. So in the morning, I'm going to be making sure that I have a liter of water with some electrolytes. And so electrolytes are going to make sure that I am having enough energy during the day, and it's going to ensure that I'm keeping enough nutrients in my body. So morning, water, electrolytes. And so electrolytes are things like sodium, potassium, magnesium. So these are like minerals that you have in your body and that you can get from your diet, and they help kind of regulate your energy levels, and they help kind of like regulate your body as well. So you want to make sure that you're obviously having an optimal balance of electrolytes. But the problem is that when most people sweat and most people work out, you sweat, right? And so when you sweat, your body uses up, like it sweats out these electrolytes. But then the other problem is that most people don't go and replenish those electrolytes back into their body. So what happens is now they're deprived. They have less electrolytes in their body now. And so all that does is it makes it so that, I was about to cook real quick. All that does is now their muscles start cramping. They might start cramping up. They might feel lower energy as well. And all these bad stuff start happening. So that's why it's important to make sure you get your electrolytes in. And so obviously I'm going to make sure that And because your body naturally in the morning wakes up dehydrated, first thing I do in the morning is going to be I'll drink a liter of water. Okay, maybe not a liter, sometimes 750 milliliters, depending on how full I'm feeling. But I'll drink a little bit of water and I'll make sure I have electrolytes in it. And so a really easy way to get electrolytes without having to go to Amazon and buying an electrolyte packet for like 20 bucks is just open up your kitchen counter and taking some salt. So let me literally just grab this. I feel like people should have no excuse to not be getting their electrolytes in, because I understand electrolyte powders are really expensive, but I don't think salt's that expensive. I think everyone can go in their kitchen counter and find some salt that looks like this. At least if you're living in like America or like a first world country. And so you get your electrolytes. And so you take your water, you take your salt, you sprinkle some in. You want to do like a quarter tablespoon. It's going to make your water taste a little funky. You get used to it after a while. And to make it even better, you could probably just sprinkle a little bit of lemon in there too, to kind of like mask the flavor a little bit. So that's another way you can kind of go about it. Or if you're a little bougie, you can just have some coconut water or mineral water. They'll kind of do like a similar effect. Coconut water is really, really good for keeping you hydrated. So that's another really good alternative. So the focus is mainly just mineral balance and not just water quantity. So I always thought I was drinking enough water, but I would still be cramping or I would still be flat in my workouts. And it's because, when you do just hydration without having enough minerals in your hydration, it's just going to be dilution, because obviously you're going to lose your sodium, you're going to lose your potassium, you're going to lose your magnesium every single time you sweat or lift. So if you're only chugging and drinking plain water, you're actually weakening your system. So if you fix this and your recovery, then your mental focus also helps improve as well. And it kind of levels up really fast. So next is going to be my recovery. So that's the next thing we're getting into, recovery. So when and why. So for best practice, recovery work, it should always go after cardio and not lifting. Obviously, if you're just lifting, recovery should go after you lift. But if you're doing cardio and lifting, it should go after your cardio and not after just your lifting days. So what I'm going to be doing is on the days that I'm just doing like more cardio intensive work, I'm going to be doing stuff like foam rolling, light mobility for like my hips, my quads, my calves. And then I'm going to do a little bit of breath work, like breath work and stuff like that to kind of help down regulate my nervous system. That's going to be super important for me. And then the days where I do have a little bit more free time, so maybe, let's say if it's a day where I don't have as many client calls or whatnot, I'm going to make sure I'm doing like a sauna or a cold plunge to kind of help recover a little bit quicker. So that's like contrast therapy. So you kind of just go back and forth between the two. It's really good for like helping with recovery, especially the cold plunge. Like if you're finding yourself really, really sore a lot, the cold plunge helps speed up recovery as well. So, and then I also have a massage gun. Let me just go get this. I'm gonna go get this massage gun. I really want to give you guys all the visuals of like what exactly I'll be doing. So I got my massage gun right here. Boom. And so, all right. So massage gun. This is what it looks like. Boom. And then turn this eye on. And then obviously I have to put something in here, but that's what like the whole thing's gonna look like. So I'm gonna be massaging like my key muscle groups. So like stuff like my thighs, whatever is like really, really sore and like hurting me a lot, that's what I'm gonna be massaging. And so this is gonna also help speed up my recovery because it's just helping promote a little bit more blood flow to the muscle and all that good stuff. But the other reason why, and I like to talk about the stuff that maybe isn't so, obvious, just so you guys can kind of get a sense of like how I think and how I kind of like work to structure my stuff. So when it comes to like lifting, right, you already have recovery technically built in because in between your sets, you're lifting. You know what I mean? And then the other thing too is when you come to lifting, when it comes to like lifting weights, if you do a leg day, only your legs are going to be sore. Or if you do shoulders, only your shoulders will be sore. And the reason why recovery isn't as effective for right after your lifts as opposed to when you're doing cardio is because when you're doing cardio, especially something that's like HYROX style, which is a lot more intense, this really hits the central nervous system and it hits your joints pretty hard as well. So obviously the collagen is going to help to keep that intact, the glutamine as well, those supplements I showed you before. But then what this actually does when you're like super drained cardio wise, it creates, instead of like, how do I explain this? Okay, so when it comes to the actual lifts, that's localized fatigue. So like that's just, oh, I did a shoulder workout, so my shoulders are sore. Or I did a leg workout, my legs are sore. But when it comes to the cardio stuff, it's your whole nervous system. So it's systemic fatigue. And that fatigue is a lot more draining, like mentally, physically, than the localized fatigue, if that makes sense. And so that's why you want to make sure you do your recovery post cardio. And so this is going to help control your inflammation. This is going to help lower your heart rate a little bit faster. And it's going to help improve your next day performance. So that's the whole reasoning behind why I'll be doing my recovery after my cardio days. Next up is going to be sleep. So sleep is obviously going to be super important. So I have a Whoop right here that I use to track my sleep and track my recovery. So I'm going to be aiming for like 7 to 9 hours per night. And I already showed you some of the supplements I'm taking. I have some other supplements. It's not as necessary for me to show you, but the supplements I have in my other room are like magnesium, which I take before bed. Magnesium helps you fall asleep faster and helps you stay asleep longer. And obviously, we both know that when you have poor sleep, that means you're going to have a higher resting heart rate, meaning that it's more taxing on your body to do basic things like going up the stairs. And it's going to lead to a slower recovery, which when you're doing like more intensity or cardio focused stuff, where you're trying to run at a certain speed or you're trying to push a certain weight, it's just not really possible for your body because your body's just tired. So that's kind of all I have for like my goals. And so in terms of like a final lesson and like why this system works is because every input is tracked. Every training block is extremely intentional, and every recovery block, it supports a bigger goal. So there's no guesswork. And with the whole recovery block and stuff, it's just going to be dials that I can turn up or down, depending on, what's working and what's working really well or what's not working so well. And so if you're asking yourself like, okay, how can I stay consistent when working like 10 hours a day? Well, it's easy. You just have to simplify the big rocks. So look at the different rocks that you have in your life. A rock might be something like hydration or your training structure or your recovery. So just simplify those big rocks. You don't have to try harder. You just have to show up and actually execute. And that's the only way you're going to be able to build a body that performs under real world conditions and a body that can perform when life is going good and then when life is not going so good, or when life is extremely busy and you have client dinners and client calls, or you're flying in and out of the country. That's the only way, by simplifying the big blocks, because at the end of the day, if I wanted to spend a week on recovery, I probably could, because there's so many different little areas I could probably optimize for my recovery. But I obviously don't have the time to, because I'm working 10-hour days, having a lot of client work I got to do, a lot of content to post, content to film. There's so many other things I need to do that it's just not optimal for me to, is that the right word to use? It's just not efficient for me to use all my time doing that. So find the big rocks in your life, find the big key areas that you're currently struggling with, and to see how you can simplify them as much as possible. And if you do need help trying to actually think of, okay, what's the best way to actually simplify this specific process, just shoot me a message on Instagram. I'll be more than happy to help, especially if you came from YouTube, because obviously I'm trying to build up the YouTube right now and kind of like working towards, developing, more videos like this, because this is something I generally enjoy. And so if you are watching the YouTube, I've been more than happy to kind of like help and kind of figure out a way to help you simplify what you're currently doing in your life. So yeah, that's kind of all I have for this video. If you're new here, like, comment, subscribe. Definitely helps the algorithm a little bit, and it helps get this video shown to other people who might find some benefit or might find some value from it. So it's something I really appreciate. And if you want to see me actually like live out this whole training schedule, like this training plan, and you want to see me live out like these like cardio workouts, I'll be posting it all on my story as I train each and every single day. Not each and every single, I'm not training every day, but I'll be posting my recovery. I'll be posting my workouts. I'll be posting some content from the boot camp that I do on Sundays called Flow State. Yeah, so super excited to kind of like get this ball rolling and to show you guys what it's looking like. And I'm even more excited to come back to this video when I actually do the race and kind of compare my time from before and my time afterwards and show you guys how much of a difference you can actually make when you are intentional about what you do. So like I said, I appreciate you watching this video if you stayed this far. Love you guys and hope you guys have a good rest of your days. Peace.